Tuesday morning, my cousin, who's a battalion chief for LA County Fire, texted our family group chat and said, "Don't go to work today. Everyone needs to go to the house. Start watering things down, start prepping. There's a light up behind you in the palisades and there's a lot of wind. Anything could happen today." Chase and I jumped in the car and drove from our place in Santa Monica back to my family home that I've lived in since I was born, and my dad and my sister were already there prepping. Dory packed up the dogs and got out and evacuated back to our place, and we just started watering everything down. We moved all of the patio furniture away from the house, got our pool pump and our fire hose ready to go, and just started preparing for the absolute worst. We brought a ladder up to the roof and just started washing down all of the eaves, all of the vegetation, running the sprinklers. We knew what was coming, but we thought we were going to be okay. We just kept thinking, as long as the airdrops can stop the fire from crossing this ridge, we're going to be okay. My cousin ended up getting stationed nearby, and he stopped by and just told us to keep doing what we were doing, that he would be in the area, but probably wouldn't be able to make it back for a while. Smoke just kept getting thicker and thicker, and then once the fire jumped the ridge, we had tree branch-sized embers hailing down on our house and touching our roof, touching our lawn, touching our vegetation, the astroturf lawn, just melting it. And we just kept hosing it and doing our best to fight the embers. Our neighbors thought we were crazy as they started evacuating, and as things got more and more serious, it became harder and harder to take videos. And then, the worst thing we thought could happen, the fire ripped from that ridge all the way across the mountain to the other ridge. We all just kept fighting the embers and watering it down. We knew it was just going to get worse, but we didn't know how bad. The LA County Fire Department was going up and down the street telling everyone they needed to evacuate now, that the fires were coming. And then we started seeing the first houses going up. There were huge booms in the distance. The firing embers just kept raining down all around us, and our neighbors' houses started catching fire. We just did our best to use our garden hoses to just keep hosing them down, putting out the embers wherever we could. We fired up our gas-powered pool pump and started using that. There were just huge plumes of black smoke everywhere, huge booms of things exploding from people's homes. All of the vegetation started going up, and then before we knew it, the fire had jumped the canyon in our neighborhood and started lighting up across the way. We went and were putting out fires on the houses below us any chance we had a minute to breathe. Not really breathe, because the smoke was so thick. We were all wearing masks. We didn't have goggles, so we were wearing sunglasses. And then my sister found these blue blocker glasses. My dad's truck caught on fire and she put it out, and somewhere in the middle of this, Chase broke the water main with the fire hose and then MacGyvered it back together with a random piece of PVC and saved us. When the sun set, it just was the brightest, most horrible night of our life. We watched our entire neighborhood burn across the way, and there was nothing we could do but try to protect the homes around us. We'd lost all power and utilities. We still had water on our side because we weren't technically in Malibu. And that was really what saved us. We had no engines or support on our side, and we couldn't figure out why. It was so sad to just see all of the ashes and everything burning. Our eyes lit up and got so infected. We ended up scrounging for one pair of goggles. Everything was burning. We ended up finding a couple of masks left over from COVID time. We went to a neighbor's house, and their deck was completely on fire. One of their gates chased it, and by the time we were able to open the other gate, 30-foot flames were erupting behind him. Anytime things got too gnarly, we had to stop filming, but we did our best to capture things for our neighbors who we love. My dad had our emergency generator powered up, so we were able to get a couple more hours of light, but it didn't do much for us. We had to be really careful and conserve it. And the next morning, it was just horrible to wake up and know that it wasn't even close to being over. We were just covered in thick ash and soot. And we started doing shifts every hour, and we started getting reports about what it was looking like, and we decided to drive around the neighborhood and see if there was anyone who needed help. And that's when we noticed the true destruction that our beloved community was facing. We didn't know what we were going to do, but my dad and I were trying to see if there was anyone we could help in the neighborhood. And then we realized why we had no engines on our side. They were all over here, and they just couldn't do enough. The fire absolutely ripped all the way across a ridge through Topanga. And it is just so devastating to see what happened to my neighborhood that I've lived in since I was a baby. But we knew that it wasn't over yet because the winds were still strong and flare-ups kept happening. So all of these areas that were smoldering kept burning up. We kept going with snorkel masks, and we were able to protect our eyes. And then in the middle of the night, my sister and I heard a boom. We thought it was a looter coming into the backyard. And I realized that there was a fire on the hedge of our neighbor's house. I charged up the muddy hill with our garden hose, and then their window exploded from the flames inside their house and broke all over me. I started screaming for my dad and Chase, and my dad and I crawled a fire hose up the muddy hill as Chase fed us slack. And then luckily a fire engine was going by, and they stopped and were able to extinguish the structure fire before it spread through our whole street, which is the only part still standing. It was a long night, and after the fire department left, we just kept running around to our neighbors' houses trying to put out other fires, and they just told us to keep doing what we were doing, that there was any small flare-up could be disastrous. We thought we were in the clear here because the wind had died and the stars were out, but it was absolutely brutal. The next morning, Chase went and used someone else's pool pump to extinguish a fire on their hill. The devastation is just completely brutal. By this point, we were so worked and so run down from everything that we had done. The toxic flames that were coming out of the house next door from their construction materials were different than the wildfire ash, which was already a thick glass-like sand. We had to leave, so we ate some ice cream before we had to throw it away and said goodbye.